Hello, my name is Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to another edition of Impossible Mission, the Geek Show's video game discussion show, so named because it's impossible to talk about video games without annoying someone. If you're listening on YouTube, please do consider giving us a like and a subscribe. That helps new channels like us very much. Or if you're on a podcast provider, please do give us a words and a star rating. Again, that helps people notice us. And this episode, it's an episode for the times that we're in right now. Not going to address it because addressing it apparently is bad internet juju. But in the times that we're currently in, people want games. People want games that not necessarily are the big, expansive games that you can get lost in. People want the games which, for want of a better word, are comfort food or chewing gum for the brain. So that's the sort of games we're going to be talking about today. And we're not talking about it in a derogatory sense. We're talking about it in a maybe we are talking about derogatory sense and celebratory sense. But anyway, yes, that's the topic for today.
Yeah, okay. Now, I think we need to define first, before we get into this, we need to define certain rules, so to speak. They're more guidelines, but number one, any game that you're playing right now that is a time sink, say you just started playing The Witcher 3 or something like that, right? Any game that you're going to spend hours and hours on, I wouldn't say that was a chewing gum for the brain type game.
However, in the case of Witcher, it does have Gwent, which I would qualify as that, but that's
we'll get to Gwent and stuff like that later. But you understand what I mean? It's a game where there's a strong narrative, there's strong progression. You're playing the game for the story. You know, you want to know what happens next. You want to complete these quests and get the rewards. You have a reason to play the game.
Just on that point, I want to say that I'm playing through Witcher 3 now, and it's Mass Effect to me. You know, and Mass Effect 2, people will be able to remember this, where you played it over and over and over again because you wanted to make sure that your entire crew survived.
Yeah.
Well, The Witcher 3's done that to me. This is my second playthrough, and I got a bad ending. I don't want a bad ending. I want a good ending.
But you understand what I mean when I say that there's a reason to play the game. You're playing it for a purpose. You're playing it with purpose. You know? You're not simply playing the game just because you want something to wind down to. You want to relax. You don't want to think about anything. And I also want to separate games where, MOBAs or games like Call of Duty where it's a high stress, high tension, fast-paced thing. I don't think those are chewing gum for the brain type games as well. Now, there are a bunch of people out there who think Dark Souls 1 and 3 in particular, I don't know why 1 and 3, but Dark Souls 1 and 3 in particular...
Why not 2?
I don't know. But Dark Souls 1 and 3 in particular seem to be the main two that some people return to. And I can kind of understand hitting a big monster with a big sword can be therapeutic.
Well, I will say that in defense of those sorts of games, the endorphin rush when you beat a boss after grueling through it and trying to beat the monster is really, really rewarding.
Yeah, but up until that point, you're very, very stressed, okay?
Yes. It's a nice release, though.
Yeah, it's a nice release, but you're very stressed. And that's my point. It's, again, not a game where you can just sit down and enjoy it. You know, you can just sit down and play it. You don't need to. You're not getting into that zone where you're going to be absolutely stressed. You're not getting into that zone where you need to think about things, where you need to kind of plan what you're doing. You need to strategize. You need to think about what's it going to do now. What's going to do now. You see what I mean?
Yeah, you got to look for the patterns.
Yeah. So I mean, the types of game that I'm thinking of as chewing gum for the brain type games are games like Theme Hospital or other games of that type. You know, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Sim Zoo, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's games with, I wouldn't say without any action. Games which don't revolve around you trying to save the world from some big bad and shoot all the bad guys or do whatever with the bad guys. It's your own private time. Whatever you choose to do with the bad guys, as long as you keep it in your own bedroom, is fine.
Yeah, exactly that. You've basically hit the nail on the head, right? So, I mean, we both love Theme Hospital, and you just did a review of 2 Point Hospital recently as well.
Yes.
which it's the spiritual successor and made by people who made Theme Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it's a game that I could easily sink hours into and be totally calm and chilled while I'm playing it.
Yeah, but we don't want to repeat what we did in the video titled "The Scariest Games in the World," which we talked about sort of sim.
Yeah, we did talk about those.
Facility management.
Yeah,
we don't want to just repeat the same point because these games are more diverse than just this one thing.
Yeah, this is the thing. If you go slightly to the left of the facilities management games, then you get to games like. Now, I'm going to be specific here, right? Real-time strategy games. I'm not talking about all of them, but games like Age of Empires, especially Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3, or games like Civilization.
Yeah, I mean, strategy games have become peculiar in the last couple of years because they seem to have introduced this survivalist element.
Yeah.
Where you put in a situation where it's very, very grueling, whether it's like a horrible freezing, like, was that Frostpunk? I think I'm remembering the title.
Yeah, Frostpunk.
Or Northgard, in which it was about you who were basically surviving from almost apocalyptic wiping out by a stronger clan.
Yeah.
And you've got to get revenge and fight against the harsh environments around you and do that. That's really unforgiving. Historically, though, outside of sort of war sims like Command and Conquer and stuff like that, historically, strategy games a bit more forgiving, a bit more chewing gum.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at games like the Age of Empire games, you basically, if you're playing through the campaign mode, or you're playing against another player, unless that other player was basically, I mean, if you're just playing as a single player game, then you're okay. You can relax with it. You can progress with it. Civilization, even more so. I mean, how much Civilization you can just lose yourself in it.
It's a life eater.
Yeah. And so games like that, but then you go to the left of games like that, right? And there's a guy I know who all he does after he finishes work, right? He comes home and he basically he has something to eat, and then he goes upstairs into his room where he's got his gaming rig, and his gaming rig is multi-screen, and it's got like all sorts of additions and all sorts of stuff like that. And he sits there, and all he does for an evening is fly from London to New York and back.
Yeah, you've mentioned this story before on the show. Yeah.
Flight simulators, truck simulators, construction vehicle simulators. Those are another one of those chewing gum for the brain type games.
Well, I think the ultimate one is possibly one of the most successful games of the past. Well, it is the single most successful indie game of all time, Minecraft.
Yeah, I was going to go with Farming Simulator, but Minecraft, yeah.
It has a little bit of conflict. You have those, I don't know, evil sausage rolls or whatever they are.
The zombie things.
Trying to beat you.
Yeah. But Minecraft...
They look more like sausage rolls than they do like zombies, let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but Minecraft, you're absolutely right. Minecraft is one of those games where you just sit there and you make stuff.
Yeah, that's the sort of an aspect of the chewing gum game which is underrated, really, because you could throw Dreams, you could throw Little Big Planet in this.
Yeah.
Games which allow you some sort of outlet to be creative.
Yeah.
It's not just... I mean, games, let's be honest, games are built on being destructive.
Yeah.
Not many games allow you to create.
Yeah.
But going back to the Minecraft, though, there's like Dragon Quest Builders as well.
Mario
Dreams,
Maker.
Big Planet, all this sort of stuff. It allows you to not just pull things down.
Yeah.
There's probably other examples as well in the indie game space, but that creation aspect is like Dark Cloud as well, like Villages and stuff like that. But Chronicle, that one, wasn't it? But anyway, yes, having that sense of you are putting something together that wouldn't be there without you interacting with the game in a certain way.
The interesting
and you
thing
have to
is,
get it perfect.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that kind of a cross between the maker games and your normal type game. The Atelier games are, I would say that the Atelier games to a degree are chewing gum for the brain type games because of the crafting aspect of it, because a lot of the time you're just kind of wandering around the wilderness, gathering ingredients, go back, make stuff, go out again, gather more ingredients, go back, make stuff.
What's your opinion on visual novels being chewing gum for the brain? Because let's be honest, as games, they're very, very basic.
It depends, because you have a range of visual novels. You have the romance ones, and then you have the ones where you kind of have to save the world, and then you have the horror ones, things like that. So it does depend on what type of visual novel it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would class them as chewing gum for the brain type games as well, because, well, in a very real sense, a visual novel is basically reading a book. And if you want to read a book, then read a book.
Oh, don't get into that quagmire.
Anyway. I did mention Farming Simulator, right? Just to kind of pull us back onto this. Farming Simulator is one of those games where people spend hours and hours and hours just ploughing fields and sowing seeds and planting crops.
Let's be honest, farming doesn't change from year to year. It doesn't have like a new season and a new group of players and a new group of teams that have been promoted to the top league.
Yeah.
Yet, it's still annualized.
Yeah, but my point is that there are games like that. There are loads of games like that. EVE Online, there are people who play EVE Online, but they don't play EVE Online. What they do, they basically get into a mining ship and mine asteroids for an evening. But on the back of Farming Simulator, you have other games that kind of have the farming aspect. I mean, Farmville was massive on Facebook. But you also have you also have games like Harvest Moon, Animal Crossing.
Well, yeah, Animal Crossing is very, very popular for this, and people do get into that a great deal. Stardew Valley as well. This is games where, again, it's going back to the builder stuff. It's something which are taking ownership of. It's why people in the city are so enamoured with Countryfile. And if you're watching and listening in America, Countryfile is basically like a Sunday morning TV show in which it's what's happening in the countryside this week. Let's go on some farms, let's look at some countryside. It's just nice, relaxing, transporting sort of stuff, really. And it scratches that same itch.
Just on the back of the simulations as well, possibly one of the biggest selling simulation games of all time, of simulation franchises of all time, is, even now, people are still playing The Sims.
Wasn't that initially released as a satire on Second Life or whatever it was?
I don't know. I don't think
the first one, I'm pretty certain, was a satire, and then it sold really, really well.
Yeah.
So with each respective title, the satire peeled away and away and away until it basically became the thing it was satirizing, which I think is a fun little bit of, I don't know what you describe that as, but it's fun.
But the thing is, The Sims, how many people still play The Sims?
Millions. I mean, I personally have never played it. I don't really know what it is, but millions.
Basically, you're just controlling the lives of all these little people that you've created. It's like the ultimate god simulator without you actually being called a god.
Yeah, I've heard stories of people being quite sadistic with their Sims characters, like putting them in the basement and then removing the door out of the basement. Sort of stuff.
What I will say is that The Sims is kind of the ultimate personality test. How you treat your Sims is basic. It kind of highlights certain aspects of your persona.
So those people who put them in the basement and then remove the door are kind of really sadistic.
Well, yeah.
They're just not come to terms with it.
Yeah, basically. But the thing is, it's weird. It's weird that we've touched on that topic because possibly rather than playing the games, possibly rather than playing The Sims, they may want to play Grand Theft Auto instead.
Yeah, I mean, that's thinking of it. You look at Grand Theft Auto, or you look at Grand Theft Auto Online, very action heavy, very combative, or whatever you want to describe it as. But bringing this up, it hints at people who play games in the ways that weren't designed.
Yeah. But how many people would put on Grand Theft Auto, just drive around, hit people with a baseball bat, steal another car, drive around, hit more people with a baseball bat, or whatever?
You don't need to hit people with a baseball bat to steal a car. There's thousands of them just sat on the roadside, Rob. That makes me sound like such a petty thief.
Yeah, but what my point is that's their idea of winding down and, whatever works, I suppose. Because to me, there's not much difference.
I mean, you can go back to The Witcher then, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those lush worlds where you can just sort of wander.
Yeah.
Because on the map, there's thousands of question marks, which are undiscovered locations, and just wandering around that world, discovering the undiscovered is, again, it can be that. It's playing games in the ways that they weren't designed, finding your own fun.
Yeah.
Which, in this age of people who play the games as they're designed because the trophies tell them what they exactly have to do to get a platinum. This whole platinum, or whatever the Xbox equivalent is, full gamer score or whatever, in hunting for that, it's taken away people's ability to sort of experiment with the game and play with the game like they want to, because they have this script of how they should play it.
It's interesting.
I don't want to bang on achievement hunting, but at the same time, it has taken the adventure out of gaming. Really.
It's interesting you say that, because that's a really, really lovely segue for me to talk about Forza Horizon in particular, right? Now, here's the thing, right? Open world games, the games where you can just go and explore and you can see what's over the horizon, stuff like that. I think no other game that I've played kind of encompasses just how much you can do that more than Forza Horizon. And to a degree,
I will say Breath of the Wild also did that. But,
Breath of the Wild did that, but it didn't manage to do it in the same way that Forza Horizon has done it, right? Forza Horizon, the beauty of Forza Horizon is you could literally just you could just drive a car down a road, take it off road, go see what's over the hill, do some jumps on some construction yard, do whatever, and then go off and do something else. And you can just drive your car around and explore.
Yeah. What was that game where you could effectively travel from one side of America to the other? It was a very much abridged version of one side of the country to the other, but it was that.
Was that Project Cars, or was that what was the other one that came out around the same time?
It was Ubisoft, I think.
Was it Drive Club?
It might have been. I don't know what it was. I'll put footage of what it was over the video.
Yeah, it might have been Drive Club. But
yeah, I mean that sense of discovery. But again, that game didn't really work that well because it was so abridged that it you couldn't just discover because everything was neatly marked out on the map.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Forza Horizon, it was a bit like The Witcher, a bit like The Witcher in that you had question marks all over the map that you could just go and explore, or you could find your own hidden stuff, or you could basically go somewhere and set up your own event. And other players who play Forza Horizon could basically go to your event and discover your event. Do you see what I mean? And the nice thing was, because it was players creating different events as well, there was always something new to discover.
Okay.
Which is, it's a nice way of doing it, isn't it?
Well, I guess, yeah. It's just finding the fun in a way which wasn't designed.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a generational thing. Going back to when I was a kid, you could only get it wasn't like hundreds of games released every week. There was a limited amount. And you didn't get any games when you knew you got them when you got your pocket money.
Yeah.
So when you got a game, you didn't play it until you finished it. You played it and played it and played it until you knew every little thing about it. Or in the case of me and Contra, you maybe got to the third screen of enemies and then you gave up. But it's that sort of, you had the game because you didn't have any alternatives and you got the fun out of it that you could get the fun out of it. Whereas now games have become so disposable that you have to basically do what you're told.
Yeah, but I mean,
you don't get to sort of chill out with a game and find that little zen spot because there's something new coming along and you can't relax on this one game.
See, that's the thing. There are a certain group of games where you can still relax to them, even though you still have like goals and achievements and stuff like that. Sports games in particular fall into that category where you can just, I mean, FIFA, for example, you can just do a single match on FIFA, right? That's not attached to anything.
Maybe you can, but some people are just compelled to just play.
Yeah, I'm not talking about some people. I'm just talking about a person in general. If they just want to wind down, if they've got 10 minutes free, they just want to wind down, play a quick video game. They can pop FIFA on, or they can pop a sports game on, and just have a quick matchup, can't they?
Yeah.
And they don't have to think about it. It's not going to affect them in any way. They're not hunting for achievements. They're just playing a game because it's the joy and the calmness that comes with playing a game. Games like
I think this episode though has outed me as somebody who really hates trophies and achievements.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to have that outed. I really don't like them.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't like them either. I don't hunt trophies and achievements because at the end of the day, if you're going to give me a trophy, give me a bloody trophy, as in a real thing, right?
Yeah, but I'm just not interested, because it's a generational thing, I think.
Well, I don't think it's a generational thing. I think it's just it's one of those things where it's an achievement. I suppose you could call it an achievement, but it will never ever, for me, it will never ever compare to actually achieving something in real life. And by that I mean, breaking my own boundaries, achieving another level for myself, learning something new, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to turn them off. Please, the games developers, or Sony or Microsoft or whoever, can I please just turn them off?
Yeah,
please.
Anyway, enough about your roundabout achievements. What's your chewing gum for the brain game?
I don't think I really have one. It's a game where I can sort of go off exploring, I guess. That is, if it's not something like Theme Hospital, which hits this sort of moment where you're just so invested in managing it that you lose your sense of self and you just become absolutely absorbed in every little bit, and your eyes are darting around like you've somehow seen The Matrix. That's good, and there's a space for that and a place for that. But personally, that chewing gum for the brain is just games that allow me to go off and explore and wander. In fact, again, like I've talked about a lot of this episode, finding my own fun. Whether that's a racing game or like a third-person action game, it doesn't matter. It's just as long as I can go off exploring.
I'm kind of the same, but I like games like Harvest Moon and that, but I like Farming Simulator a bit more than I like Harvest Moon. But I wouldn't say that was a game that I'd return to over and over again. I'll be honest, and this is going to sound weird because I'm not a big player of these types of games, but sports games, I always return to a sports game when I want to wind down.
That's fair enough.
Because I think it's because I'm not a hardcore player of games like FIFA or NHL or games like that I can return to them and I can sit down and put it on and I can wind down to it because I'm not stressed about it. I'm not going out to hunt achievements or anything. I'm not challenging players online. I'm just having a game against the AI, and that's it.
Yeah. How about you, viewers and listeners? What are the things that you like to sort of chill with? Please comment below or send your tweets to us at TGS_The Geek Show. We'd love to hear from you. But I think that's it, isn't it, for this week? For this episode?
Yeah, that's it for this week. Join us on the next episode of Impossible Mission, where we're going to have a really interesting topic to talk about. If you have anything that you want to suggest as a topic for us to talk about, then leave a comment below.
See you next time.